Okay, picking up now to sudden death syndrome in athletes. Now, this can be caused by several other things. Thinking like hydration, cardiac issues, respiratory issues, anaphylactic issues. They were stung by a bee, they're allergic to. Several things can actually cause someone to die, shock, infection, lots of stuff. But here we're talking specifically in cardiac issues. So for cardiac issues, there are 3 to 4 kind of main reasons why there might be sudden death in athletes. Now, this is outside of any other type of health risk factors, outside of any other diagnosis. Um, Typically, we think athletes, young, healthy, active, should not have any sudden death. That's why it's often a concern. But there's even a lot of research about if some of these cardiac screenings are even warranted, if it's even something that is necessary to test for because it can be so rare. Now, currently, a lot of the tests that do exist for this aren't sensitive enough to actually find people that have these conditions. And sudden death is often the first sign or symptom that they even have this condition. So because it's expensive to test everyone, because it's still fairly rare that these things happen, and because a lot of the tests that exist aren't sensitive enough to pick up on these actual conditions, a lot of people make the decision to just not perform these cardiac tests. Now, unfortunately, because of that, we know that these are going to be our top 4 reasons for cardiac sudden death in athletes. The first one here, hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. Now, when we talk about this one, you have to think about the heart. We'll just give real simple shapes, like heart shape like this. We think it's got 4 chambers to it, and the whole size of the heart itself is still normal appearing on the exterior. But when we think about the interior, it's much smaller. So this heart itself is the same size on the exterior, but the chambers and the walls are so thick that it can't fill with a lot of blood as it goes to pump it out. So because of that, the athletes will fatigue usually a little bit faster, need a little bit more recovery time, might have faster resting heart rates because, again, even at rest, this heart has to pump pretty hard to get that blood ejected because it can't pull in much blood before it pumps when comparing to a normal heart. When we're thinking about anomalous origin of coronary arteries, we're thinking structurally where things enter and exit the heart, valves, vessels, things like that. Structurally, it's just not built correctly. Marfan syndrome, here we're thinking again as the muscle of the heart. Instead of being a normal size on the outside, it's still the same amount of muscle of a normal heart, but the whole thing just gets stretched, right? So think about like a pizza crust. If you have the same volume of dough, but I make it a 12-inch pizza now instead of my normal, we'll say 8-inch pizza, it's the same amount of dough, but now it's just a lot thinner. So whenever those contractions happen, they're just kind of wimpy contractions because the muscle's not very strong. Especially when it's stretched out, the heart itself is larger in size, but again, it's the same amount of muscle as would be for a normal heart itself. With Marfan syndrome, though, there are going to be some more factors. So this is something that is a genetic condition, runs in males more often, and they also have some specific physical factors. So we see Marfan syndrome happen a lot in men's basketball, especially because these people will be very large, very tall, um, arms, legs, fingers, toes longer than that of an average person. So when you think about what an ideal basketball player would be, very tall, huge wingspan, especially as it relates to their height. So with people that don't have Marfan syndrome, everybody else, we're thinking that there's a stronger correlation between your wingspan and your actual height. But here you'll have a much larger wingspan in reference to your height. They are very, very tall people. But again, just by looking at someone, you can maybe tell if they are one of these people that's maybe more likely to have Marfan syndrome since there are so many physical traits to it. You can do a lot of stuff that's going to make your heart fatigue more so, especially drugs and alcohol, overtraining, things like that can cause a lot of cardiac issues, but not necessarily ones that would affect normal, healthy people we're seeing as, again, some of those ones leading to sudden death. So care, again, once we find out that an athlete does have one of these diagnoses that might lead them to develop sudden death in athletics, you have to have really serious conversations kind of from the start. So time to get your athletic trainer involved, your team physician, your coaches, your athletic directors, your NCAA compliance people, kind of all on that same page for a variety of reasons. One is going to be from the legal liability standpoint of it. We cannot ensure that a sudden cardiac death would be absent from happening even after we know that this person has this condition. It's something that whenever the heart does fail, sometimes it's kind of without warning. So because of that, the university, most universities would not want an athlete participating that has a condition like that. So that's when the medical disqualification talk kind of comes into play.